Okay, moving along, one of the big things I sort of discovered about you is you're a massive campaigner for, well, one of the big ones is the Young Mental Health Mind, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems really, really close to your heart. Is there any particular reason why it's that close to it, or is it just a charity that you thought, I can really relate to that and it's something I really want to help?
We've had like issues with mental health in my family for a long time, and I've struggled with quite severe anxiety since I was quite young.
Right.
And when I was at school, I hated the way it was talked about. I felt like I wasn't taught enough about it. I didn't understand where to go, who to go to. I was never taught actually what it is, how to deal with your mental health, like about resilience and stress and like dealing with stress. All those key things we should be teaching our young people. And then also with just the way that teachers spoke about it, I had quite a lot of teachers make disparaging remarks. Like I had a teacher make a joke about slitting wrists and stuff. Awful, these awful things. And I heard about Young Minds at the Young Mental Health Charity, and they had a young activist program where you joined up and you had a day of training all about like mental well-being, mental health, like all about those things. And at the end of it, you could choose to become an activist if you wanted to, which involved talking at schools to young people, talking in the press, doing all of those things. And at first, I refused to sign up because I thought it sounded terrifying. And then with some coercion, I eventually became an activist. And the first thing I did was speak at the Brit School for young performing arts students.
Yes.
Like where Jessie J and Adele.
Yeah. I think I saw you. There's a picture you posted not long ago about it. Yeah.
So that was my first one when I was 18.
Wow.
I spoke in front of something like 200 children. I stuttered like a mad woman. Like my adrenaline went really high. I got really scared. It was awful. But at the end of it, I felt so great, and I had about 5 or 6 people come up to me to tell me about like how my story had impacted them.
Wow.
And they talk about their friend who had something. Like it was always those kind of things. And then from there, we spoke at schools up and down the country.
Amazing.
There was a team of 5 of us, and we went out and did it. And then after that, I became really passionate about putting it on the national curriculum because I felt like it was something that should be taught in schools.
Yeah.
So I ended up co-chairing the parliamentary roundtable about putting it on the national curriculum with the Secretary of State for Education at the time, whose name has completely gone. This was like 4 years ago.
You were was Nick Clegg involved at one point?
Yeah, that was later on.
That was later on, beg your pardon. I see, I'm leapfrogging ahead, sorry.
It is terrifying when I think back of all the things I managed to do. This is what I mean, my life was so exciting at one point. And then, so Nick Clegg, I co-chaired his panel about eating disorders.
Yes.
And then from there, he invited me onto his show on LBC, which is all about mental health. So he interviewed me to talk about young mental health. Then he spoke to a police officer to talk about mental health inside the forces and things like that. And then he spoke to someone who was really high up in a banking company to talk about its effects on employees. Yeah. So he looked at how mental health affected everyone. And that was a really nice thing to be a part of.
I think that was amazing.
And then from there, I spoke on panels all over the place. It's all a bit of a blur. But then the big one, which I think you're going to ask about anyway, was obviously the Young Royals.
Yes, that was the Heads Up.
Heads Up, yeah.
Yeah, Heads Up, because I remember seeing that on TV.
Yeah. Which bit did you see? The launch one?
Yeah.
When we were all in the park?
Yeah.
Yeah? That was a cool day.
I didn't see you, but I do remember. But then again, I might have done.
Enough,
I might have done.
I was wearing a floral sort of dress,
okay.
so if you can find it on YouTube and squint.
I shall squint and look for you.
But
I do remember seeing it with all their headbands.
Headbands. I've still got mine. Awful. That day was the first day they tried to talk me into running the marathon. Okay. And I said no, and I still say no quite regularly.
You haven't.
Every time I saw them, they'd be like, "Come on, you need to do the marathon." And I'd be like, "No." 26 miles is too many miles.
That's 21. No.
I thought it was 26.
It's 26 miles, 25 too many. That's what I was going to say.
Okay, yeah.
I'll do the
Fair
one.
play.
But so how was it? I mean, it was an amazing launch. I remember being on TV and the impact it had then. And I think it sort of made a lot of people really sort of sit up and start thinking about it, especially with the young royals being involved with it rather than the Prince Charleses or Princess Anne's and people like that. So did you get to work with Kate and Will and Harry? Or...
So that first launch is actually one of the funniest stories I have. So I received a call from the people at Young Minds, and they told me that someone wanted to work with me. It was like the next day, but they couldn't tell me who or why or even where. But they told me I had to bring my passport and a second proof of ID, and I had to do this and I had to do that, and I was like, right. And I met them at a tube station, And then as we walked into, is it Kensington Gardens?
Yeah.
I think I started to be like, maybe. But then actually, so I turned up in jeans and a t-shirt and trainers, because that's how I normally do like activist meetings. And I got a call from one of the other activists who was coming. Luckily I'd turned up early, considerably early, and she called me and she said, I think we're doing something with the royals. And I was like, what makes you think that? And she said, oh, someone let the word slip. They said the Royal Foundation. And I looked down at my outfit. I think my jeans had rips in them as well to make it worse. And I thought like, oh no. So I literally ran into the nearest shop. I bought a dress, I bought heels, and I had to like literally bin my outfit because it wouldn't fit in my bag. And luckily because everyone else was in suits and dresses and I would have been in jeans and a t-shirt. So that's that story. But no, I totally agree, because that was a few years into my campaigning.
Right.
And as soon as they took it on, I saw the change in attitudes in people. It was like an entire countrywide, like, zeitgeist. It just changed. Like, it was so interesting for me.
I bet.
Because I'd been involved before and after.
Yeah.
But I still find it fascinating, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
And then from there, I helped them a bit with the campaign.
Yeah.
And then we had the official launch, which was held at the Olympic Park.
It was indeed.
That was exciting.
Yeah, Prince Harry playing Jenga, if I remember right.
Yeah, with me.
Yeah, with you.
That was a weird day. Fascinating. But the other thing that I found really good about that day was Prince William spent a long time talking to me about the activist team.
Yeah.
So the activist scheme has now been rounded up hugely. There are hundreds and hundreds of activists. Yeah, and I was telling him about how we go to schools, because the important part of our schoolwork is that we're the young person who stands up first. So it means that in a year group, one of us will stand up and say, I have this, this is how I deal with it, this is the treatment I have, and now I'm fine. And it means that someone in that year group doesn't have to be the first person to say, I've got this, I've got that.
Right.
And we find it's a really good way to start the conversation and sort of break the ice.
Yeah.
And I was telling him about all the important work that the young activists do, and how, because we've got activists that are like 13.
Wow.
Because I'm now one of the oldest, I'm 22, and I'm too old when I'm 24.
No.
They retire me, I become an alumni. I know, terrifying.
Very alumni, that's
quite nice.
Good,
quite
yeah.
fancy, yeah.
That is really nice,
Even
actually.
the young ones,
Yeah.
the ones who are coming in now who are like 13, 14, when I meet them, they recognise me from some of the photos, and they'll be like, oh, you're one of the old activists, aren't you? And I'm like, thanks. That hurts.
Dang it to heart.
I know, yeah. I'm only 22. What was I talking about?
Prince William.
And so I spent all this time talking to Prince William, and it's actually, if you look hardly in some of the footage, the news footage of the event, there's like a woman talking to camera, presenting, saying, I'm at this event. In the background, you can see me looking terrified, talking to Prince William, because I had assumed they would just come around and talk to us for like a few seconds, say their hellos, then leave. Yeah. But we were talking for about 10 to 20 minutes, and the CEO of Young Minds, Sarah Brennan, who's now left, but she was just behind him, going like this at me, because he was asking me about numbers, about like the costs, about whether it could be rolled out further, and like he gave me his full attention for so long, and I just stared at him a bit like, oh my god. Like I remember at one point thinking to myself, one day I'm going to tell my kids that I stared at the forehead of the future King of England, because he's got a scar here, and I just couldn't stop looking at it and thinking, I've never seen that in photos. And then I was thinking to myself, now I'm staring at the forehead of the future King of England, and then I would be like, oh, and that's the future King of England, and then I'd be like, and I'm not looking in his eyes, and I just awful, terrible.
You'd have been better off with Harry then, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, Harry is a lot cooler.
Yeah, well, he is the cool one, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of time for Harry.
Yeah, he again has done so much for the family. I mean, the four of them, him, Kate and Meghan, now, they have done so much for the esteem. I think
they're
it's
a powerhouse.
They are, they absolutely, and Meghan has got her own sort of agenda with helping everything else. Yeah, just stunning.
Incredible.
The way she just jumped straight onto that, I think it's amazing, and I think they do so much good. So much good. So you just told me about that. Heads together. Now, another funny little thing that I read somewhere.
Try me.
Was Help for Heroes.
Yes.
Which is, again, one of Harry's big passions as well. But you were involved in Cricket for Heroes?
Yes, that was a long time ago.
And you ended up on the pitch?
I did. So
I did wonder, actually, if you ended up in whites with a bat.
No.
No?
I can't play cricket to save my life.
Well, no, I can't either.
I'm awful. I can barely understand how it works. I've volunteered for Help for Heroes for, I think, 4 years now. About as long as I've done mental health. And I realised that I dedicated so much of my time to charities that were close to my heart, that I thought I should take on a charity that I had no links to. The only like links in my family I have to the armed forces go generations back. I think my great grandfather fought in the Battle of Somme, but that's about it. Nothing.